Let's look at publishing notes. In Amplenote, you can select any note and choose to publish it on the web. Your note will be viewable in the browser at a publicly available URL. The public version of this note is always kept in sync with the original in your notebook, so the world will be up to date with your latest edits. This is pretty great for quickly sharing a note with other people, communicating with collaborators, sending feedback, and so on. However, if you want to publish multiple notes at once, for example, notes that are linked to each other, your best bet is to use the Web Notes plugin. This plugin lets me publish my notes in two ways. I can either select a tag from my list and publish all notes that have that tag in one click. This is pretty straightforward, and it saves me a lot of time that I would have to spend publishing each note individually. But the other way to publish notes using this plugin is found in the note options. This method ensures that when I publish this note, any other note that I link to will also be published. So anyone who visits my mini website can navigate it just like a real website, and just like I am able to navigate between these notes myself. To make this easier to visualize, let me open Graph Mode. Graph Mode shows me all of the links between my notes and makes it easier for me to understand what will get published. Here, it's easy to see that my root note links to a bunch of notes, and those notes themselves also have links. The plugin will publish all of those notes. And to make it easier to see what's happening in the background, I will actually type in group not public in the search bar. This will show me only the notes in my notebook that are not published yet. This means that as I run the plugin, which I will do in a second, I will see my notes gradually disappearing from the graph as they are published. So now let's run the plugin. I have a few options available here. I'm going to leave these unchecked for now. When I go to the next step, I have a list of all of the notes that were identified. That is, all of the notes that are linked to from my root note, or one of its children, or grandchildren, and so on. I can uncheck some of these, which will prevent them from getting published. And now if I confirm, I will see my notes gradually disappearing from the graph, which means they are now public. And because the plugin published every linked note recursively, this can now act as a mini website. It's entirely hosted by Amplenote, and it's always in sync with my notes. That means that any edits I make to one of my notes will reflect on the website almost instantly. When you use web notes, there is actually a setting you can toggle that lets you automatically publish new notes. I have that setting turned on, so let's see how that works. Let's say I am editing one of the notes I just published a moment ago, and let's say I decide I need a new page on my website, so I use @ to create my new note and link to it at the same time. When I press enter, Web Notes will also publish this note automatically. No extra steps required here. Another cool thing about public notes is that they can also display inline YouTube videos, Google Maps, or anything else that is generated by a plugin that you use. So if I press an open curly bracket on my keyboard, then type in the word embed, I can now paste the embed code of pretty much anything. So let's say I want to embed this YouTube video. Now I am able to see this video in my version of the note, but it also works on the public version. But the most exciting bit is that any Amplenote plugin that is able to render something in my note will also work on the public version of that node. My favorite example is generating a chart from a table. So let's recap. Public Amplenotes are entirely hosted by Amplenote, and my notes are synced in real time with their public versions. New notes are automatically published if I link to them from a note that is already public. And public notes can display anything I embed inside them, such as videos, maps, spreadsheets, or even the contents of other plugins.